All right, we're live now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to, I don't know what we're going to call this. We'll call it Lemon, Jamaal, Cori. I don't know what we'll call it. So good to have you on.
LBJ,
Oh, I
Lemon
like
Bush
that.
Jamal,
Oh, I
LBJ.
like that.
LPJ.
I'm pleased to be speaking with you, and it's been a long time. Look, and a lot of things have changed since we've all spoken. But I want to ask you, thank you. First of all, thanks for joining. Let me ask you about what's going on. You've heard this big, beautiful bill, right? So, Jamaal, you've watched the so-called big, beautiful bill unfold from outside. Billions for border militarization, cuts to SNAP and Medicaid, and tech CEOs getting the mic while working families get the boot. What are you seeing and feeling as the Congress tries to sell austerity as patriotism?
Yeah, I mean, it's the continuation of the Project 2025 agenda. It's manifesting in a variety of ways: cuts to DEI, mass deportations, disappearing people. And now this bill is just the continuation of that. And of course, they have to cut Medicaid, right? Because they have to fund the wealthiest Americans to give them more power and more control over our democracy. And so, it's the continued degradation of what is supposed to be a democracy that works for everyone and working class people, and it's not. And so I was happy to see some Republicans say no initially, but I think they are probably going to fall in line and move this bill forward.
Well, the Freedom Caucus, I don't know if you guys know the latest. The Freedom Caucus has stood up and pretty much said, stop this. And they're going over to the White House. I mean, Cori,
Okay.
former representative, does that give you any sort of hope? What does that tell you, having been a part of some of these negotiations?
I I mean, it says that they're going to go talk to him, but the thing is, one thing we all know is whoever has, uh, at least what I've seen, is whoever has Donald Trump's ear at the moment. You know, that's he'll go that way. And so the Freedom Caucus meeting, are they going to meet actually with Donald Trump, or are they meeting with with his chief advisors, or and then what happens with that? Because we've seen it go both ways. We've seen it where the Freedom Caucus, where they're actually able to, uh, stop bills from coming to the floor, and really disrupt. And we've seen it to where they just start to fall in line. So it'll be, we'll see we'll see who pulls the levers. Will it be Donald Trump, saying, do what I said, or will it be the Freedom Caucus saying, no, you need to hear us? So, but the thing is, how much are Democrats pushing back? Or how much are we pushing back? How much are we saying, how loud are we? Because that's the other thing. Like, we have to be the loudest people in the room. And
Hmm.
I don't know that that's happening. We're talking about Medicaid. We're talking about, well, and one thing that I've seen is, Republicans talking about, oh, this is going to help those who are working for tips. This is going to help, oh, this is going to put extra money in people's pockets, a few $100s or $1,000 in people's pockets, but who are those folks when what you're talking about is giving all of this money to people who are already wealthy, And so, oh, we're supposed to take these crumbs again, give crumbs to a few of the regular everyday people and continue to make billionaires richer.
Well, I mean, is it good? Do you think it's good, at least, that they're holding it up, that they're trying to stand up
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
something? Yes.
They have to, but I'm glad that they're standing up, but like, it's got to be both teams. Both
Yeah.
teams need to be fighting the same way. And I'm not saying Democrats are not fighting, but what I'm saying is, if the Freedom Caucus is going to go meet with the president or the White House, at least, you know, Democrats, like, let's get that same energy, and can we, and this is the thing, this is the time. Will Democrats are they working with the Freedom Caucus to say, like, hey, we're gonna push?
Mm.
Is there any place where they can connect? I know it's hard. Look, I know
I
it's hard to
mean,
work with
Mr.
with
Bowman
some of
is
these
not,
folks.
you are not convinced. You're shaking your head.
well,
Why is
no,
that?
I'm saying if the Freedom Caucus is really about what it claims to be about, like they're all about like small federal government, states' rights, all of those things, shrinking the budget, et cetera, et cetera. This bill is going to add trillions to the budget
Yes.
over time. And the Chip Roy that I know would never support a bill like this. And so
Mhm.
let's see what happens. I mean, there has been some resistance. The fact that there's even I mean, there was critique of Trump, as he was receiving this $400 billion jet from Qatar, right? There was some critique there. There's been some pushback on his secretaries that have been, very strong. And now we see this. So if the Freedom Caucus is really about what they say they're about, there's no way they can support a bill like this. But, we'll see.
Well, here's the thing. This is what Chip Roy said. I don't know if you saw. Chip Roy said, rules. Chip Roy says the bill is not good. I'm a no. And this was at 8:45 this morning, and then since then they've announced that they're going to go over to the White House. You have been in those hearings, Jamal. You don't mind if I call you Jamal, right? Of representative. Um, you know the game. What is it like watching Musk, Nome, Rubio, McMahon turn the Hill into, a cross between a podcast and a reality show while the public gets distracted from the real harm that is being legislated?
Yeah, I'll respond to Pastor Cori because Cori was on judiciary, so she probably got a lot more tea than
All
I
right.
have. But in the thing that disgusted me about Congress when I was there is, all talk, no action. And everything is about rhetoric, and everything is about theater, and everything is about political jostling. But as it relates to regular working class, everyday Americans, I didn't feel we were doing nearly enough to support them and nearly enough to support. We have this mythology of what America is supposed to be, this mythology of this liberal democracy. And we as black folk know that's never been the case. But they still try to force that lie down our throat while supporting horrible policies that benefit the wealthy, horrible policies that benefit the military, the police, the jails, all of it. So it's a lot of talk, no action. It's a lot of rhetoric, and it's really sickening to be in that place. But I know Corey got more tea on judiciary and oversight. Were you on oversight too,
Yeah.
Corey, or no?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
No, two
Go ahead.
perfect
Yeah.
Go ahead.
committees
Go
I
for
ahead,
mean,
me.
Representative Bush.
it's like somebody took their vision board that they've been working on for 20 years and said, okay, now I have the opportunity to make this come alive. And so not caring about how it impacts the whole country, just looking at, oh, these are things that I want. And uh and in the, you know, just there's this path of destruction, and it's like, oh, okay, we messed up, oh, we didn't do this right, oh, we'll fix it later. And that's what it's just like. It's not only a reality show, but it's middle school, but it's middle school happening in
Yeah.
the United States Congress.
Mhm.
And we see it over and over again. It's tit for tat. It is, I want a viral soundbite and I don't care if this hurts, the people of my own community. Someone asked me the other day, is it really like high school there? And I was like, no, it's middle school,
Yeah.
but these
Yeah.
are actually the people who were elected to represent our communities, and they were supposed to represent all the people, but they have made a decision to only represent a sect,
Mhm.
of the community. They only want to represent certain people, and it's shameful. And the other thing is they use the bully pulpit, and they infuse all of these lies and misinformation, disinformation, to bring people along.
Yeah. If you're watching, I want to make sure you hit the screen and smash the heart so that more people can become aware of our conversation, because I think it's a very important one. Corey, I have to say, I was watching. Remember from the beginning,
Yeah,
when you were elected, I did a story. I think I did an entire podcast on you
we did.
guys. Yeah, you made headlines for sleeping on the Capitol steps to protect the eviction moratorium. Remember?
Yeah.
Now they're debating a bill that could gut housing programs altogether. I'm wondering how do you make peace with this sort of whiplash that is going on right now, from fighting to keep people housed to watching your colleagues give tax breaks to private jet owners?
This is why we need fighters in Congress. And everybody has their own way to fight, but I think that we also need to start drawing the line between who's working and who's fighting. If I'm working for you, say I'm working. If you're fighting,
Right.
say you're fighting. And what we did on the Capitol steps, that was fighting. We need that type of energy now. I'm not saying everything has to be a protest, but we need people doing things that they would never have done before. And just not allowing the people to be steamrolled. And so it's hard, even right now. I have on my St. Louis shirt. I'm about to go back out on the street. St. Louis was devastated a few days ago with a
Yeah.
deadly tornado through
Yeah.
that ripped through our community, even in our inner city.
And he wants to get
And
rid of FEMA. Like, and no
yes,
one's helping.
yes, no one, and so we're trying to get FEMA on the ground. I know, I read that our governor is still trying to get that done. Our federal officials, especially our local ones, I don't know. But, we have to, our people already were sleeping on the street. We still had around 500,000 people every night around this country who are housing insecure, who are sleeping on the street, on any given night. And we haven't fixed that problem. And now we're in a position where we're rolling back the little bit of resources that we had. And now my local community, reeling from the devastation of this tornado.
What does
We
Missouri
have
look like right now?
it when I say, Don, I cry walking through the community. St. Louis is a place, especially the areas that were hit hard, a lot of brick homes and businesses. It's just piles and piles of bricks.
Oh my
It
God.
is buildings that I've seen since I was a kid that are just demolished, whole block pretty much wiped out. And a lot of the areas, we're talking about not all of the areas, but some of the areas were already under resourced and marginalized. And we were already working to try to bring investment to those areas. And
Mhm.
people have lost everything. They lost homes, they lost businesses, they lost cars. And we need the government to step in. We need the help. We need help now. But let me tell you this, Don, the community has stood up. The community has been making sure people get food and get shelter. It's been the St. Louis community.
Let me ask you, Jamal, I know you guys have to watch these hearings from afar, but you've been a part of them. And Linda McMahon said that billionaires create opportunity while Congress is right now considering slashing aid. What do you say to that? Someone who's experienced hunger, homelessness, poverty firsthand. What do you say to those people? But also, if you were in those hearings, right? Both answers, please. If you were in those hearings, what would you be asking someone like Linda McMahon?
What Please share with us your background and expertise as it relates to education that gives you the authority to make the claim and statement that you just made. I am a middle school principal, educator for 20 years. I have a doctorate in education leadership focused on community school infrastructure, and there's nowhere in my research that affirms what you just said. Miss McMahon, please tell me what authority you have to make those claims. And Don, this is what they do. They lie right in our face.
Yes.
Like they gaslight us and they flood the zone, and everything they flood the zone with is gaslighting. And Cori and I talk about this all the time. We we would be out of control if we were there right now. Like we would probably be arrested every week. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe that video way at the beginning, Don, where they literally locked members of Congress out of the Department of Education. Like
Right.
these are the federal departments that are funded by Congress. Not only did
Yes.
they lock them out, they had Homeland Security on the inside ready to lock people up. This is oligarchy. This is fascism. This is a dictatorship. And they just charged my sister, the congresswoman in New Jersey, with a
Yeah.
bogus BS crime, man. They're just trying to overwhelm us. And to Corey's point, sleeping on the steps. And she said everything should be a protest. And I know she means right now we gotta shut things down, yo. Like the only thing we have, only power we have right now is mass resistance and mass mobilization and revolution to the likes of the civil rights movement and what came before us. And it always got to be led by black folks. And that's why I want to see the CBCs continue to say more and do more because we always save the soul of this damn nation that has always left us for dead on the side of the road. We got to save it again this time around.
But you guys know what people are saying out there. We're tired. We're not going to go. Black people are tired, especially black women. We're not. You guys go out and protest. I'm going to brunch on Sunday. Uh, I understand that somewhat, but you got to be in the fight as well. I don't know. What's the answer? What do you guys think of that?
Well, I think that a lot of people were saying that, especially initially, I started having conversations with folks saying, "Hey, look, I get it. You know, if anybody gets it, I'm one of those people who does, because of the way that I was unseated, just like Jamaal." And you know, it was just really, horrible that we could just be unseated and just because over money, but so we get it. The thing is this, it's our communities who will be the ones the most impacted. It's our children's children who will suffer the consequences if we just let this administration just run amok, with our rights and with our lives. And so we got to step up. And I know it takes us, just making the decision that, can I just push a little bit further? Yes, I can. And I get it. Folks are saying, I want to rest. All right, take a rest for a couple of weeks, few days, a month, whatever you need. But then we have to get back out in the fight because this is about what happens next. It's not just about right now. So I get it. I get being tired, but how tired will we be after 4 years of this type of destruction? How tired will we be when our children, when we see that they'll all the things that they'll have to go through when we could have done something to stop it.
Yeah, when you look at all the people who are acquiescing, all of the sort of complying in advance that happened,
Oh my
and you
goodness.
guys mentioned, you said the way that you were pushed out, you lost your seats in a primary, Congressman Bowman, I'm sorry, in a primary flooded with money from APAC,
Yeah.
and now you're watching Congress, giving, I guess, where the loyalty to billionaires and right wing donors, that seems like the only ticket in. Do you think we're still in a democracy right now?
It's the myth of a democracy. First of all, the majority of people in America don't even vote in primaries. So if people aren't participating, that's not democracy. One of the main reasons why they're not participating is because of the big money that's coming in on the other side. And you can't, and then we don't even have the freedom to speak out about certain issues. Like we can't call for a liberated Palestine and a self determination of Palestinian people, for example, because if we do, all of a sudden we're anti Semitic and we'll be attacked for being anti Semitic and money will be spent against us. We can't call for justice reform because all of a sudden, we're anti police. We can't call for the end of poverty, which to me, we can't have a healthy democracy and a healthy society without ending poverty in this country and giving everybody access to a living wage, because then the wealthy elite will say that we're socialists. And so they have so much power collectively in their ecosystem with mainstream media and so many other outlets that they can attack anyone who goes after us. And that's why it's incumbent upon all of the American people, but also those in elected office who have the bully pulpit, to Cori's point, to stand up and be like, nah, enough of this. We got to
Yeah.
shut this down. We're not taking corporate PAC money anymore.
Right.
We're not taking APAC money anymore.
Right.
We not even cooperating with any of these bogus hearings, not hearings, but confirmation hearings as it relates to Trump's nominees. Like, we are not participating. We are shutting it down. And then we're going to use all our resources from this bully pulpit to mobilize in states, counties, and cities to get the people who we have ignored and left out into the conversation.
Yeah, but you guys say that. No, no, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I'm just saying it's hard for people to do what you say because the Democratic establishment helped to push you out. Am I wrong?
You're right.
Am I
Oh,
wrong?
oh, you're right.
Okay. So, I mean, plain and simple. So, I mean, what does it say that the party's relationship about the party's relationship with the unapologetically black progressive voices and for the voices who believe in what you believe in?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we have to stand for it either way. We have to stand for it and call it out and push our legislators to not only tolerate people like us, but to see the value. And it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen just, you know, just on its own. So that's why we have to continue to speak about it. That's why we have to also work to look at who in our communities should be running for these seats. It's also about, that's why, I started a PAC and an organization. Jamaal started one as well. I have Politivist Action and Politivist Power to get more activists, like me into these congressional seats, because we need to see these fighters, but we also need to see people who care about our values, people who are pushing and fighting for progressive values, not just talking the talk. So that's what, to me, yeah, they pushed us out, but they can only push us out when it's not enough of us to fight back. And the question is, though, they might have they might have worked to push us out, but will we stay out?
Yeah.
Or if it's not Jamal and I, will it be someone else?
Well, I
Don,
want to
real quick,
ask you,
can I
but
say one thing real
go on.
quick? Just
Yeah.
we are the children of the civil rights movement, Don. Like
Yeah.
our people were beaten to death, shot, killed. Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Robert Kennedy, John. We are the children of that anti-war movement. Students killed at Kent College. We are the children of that. We can't just be comfortable and just allow, not that we're comfortable, but we can't just allow this to go without that level of resistance, man. I mean, John
Mhm.
Lewis is the icon of the Congressional Black Caucus that we always call to and conjure when we talk about good trouble.
Good trouble. And he
We
was a
need the
fighter.
CBC to
Yeah.
lead on good trouble right now.
But he was a fighter. I don't see a lot of people fighting. And now a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Z-Biotics. I have to tell you about this game-changing product that I use before a night out with drinks. It's called Pre-Alcohol. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It is a buildup of this byproduct. It's not dehydration that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this product down. So just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. So I have tried this product and wanted to try it, and it worked for me after a night out of drinking, and I felt great the next day. So go to zbiotics.com/lemon-drops to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use lemon drops at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lemon-drops and use the code lemon-drops at checkout for 15% off. Thank you to our sponsor. Now back to the show. Let me ask you too, in that vein, you guys saw sadly that Jerry Connley passed away, right? He lost
Yeah.
his bout with cancer, and we wish him the
Yeah.
best. But there was a controversy about Jerry Connley, and then getting and why did they pick someone who's younger, a younger, possibly more progressive voice to be on these committees, to have on the oversight committee, on the rules committee, or whatever, just to have a bigger profile and a leadership role. And it seems like the Democratic Party is, I don't know, somehow averse to younger, more progressive voices, and all the old folks. I hate to say this, but the Democratic Party let me see, I just want to make sure, is a bit long. I'm looking at, I think this is a bit as wait, I was long a bit a skeptic that Democrats were uniquely bad at stepping aside at the wrong time, but it is pretty damning that the last 8 members of Congress to die in office have been Democrats. And it
Right.
is
Mm.
older people. Look, sad about that, but do they need to start promoting some younger voices and making room, a bench for younger people, for new people?
Yeah, just really quick, and rest in peace to Representative Connolly
Yeah.
and Sheila Jackson Lee and so many
Oh
others
yeah.
we lost over the last couple of years. I bring up Sheila because she also died of cancer. I remember when Cori and I first got there, it seemed like Sheila was on the floor talking about everything 3 times a
Yeah.
day. She was just
She
a
was.
fighter, and she carried HR 40 after John Conyers passed away. as long as she could, before Corey and I tried to evolve that, and now Summer is continuing it. I look when we first got there. I look at it as like sports, and maybe it's the wrong analogy, but in sports, you can't play forever, right? You get to an age where you gotta step aside and either go into coaching or administration or something else, and let the young lions come in and take your team to the next level. And
Hmm.
I don't know how you have Corey Bush, Ayanna Presley, Ilhan, Rashida, AOC, and so many others come in, new, fresh women of color, incredible ideas, and passion and urgency, and not elevate them in everything that you do. The fact that the party didn't do that in 2018, 2020 ultimately hurt the party in 2024.
Right.
Because the same people
Right.
that stay home for Kamala, they're going to come out for Cori Bush. They're going to come out for Jamaal Bowman. They'll come out for Ayanna, AOC, and others. And so the party continues to hurt itself by making these kinds of decisions.
Let me ask
And I
you.
think
Go ahead.
let me and I think also that we see the Republicans though, they will push up freshmen. They
That's
will
right.
push up, people who are younger.
They put
We
Byron
see
Donalds
this
up for speaker. Remember that?
up for speaker, right? And so we have like why there has to be this gatekeeping, or this, we have to stick to seniority, like stick like that, and I understand people feel
We
like they've
respect
waited their
seniority.
time. I get that, but there's also a need to take care of this country, where we need different voices. People are asking there, people are yearning for something else. And so we need to give it to them. And it's not like we don't have the talent. The talent is there.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. This controversial book about Joe Biden. What do y'all think of that?
You know, um, okay, let me ask you first. Which book? I've been hearing about two
And
books.
which
Which book?
part are you talking
This
Which?
about?
is the one about him, that they covered up
Yeah,
his mental his
Well,
mental decline
yeah.
and
yeah, I mean, Corey and I are on the record saying that uh, President Biden should have not run for reelection in 2022. He should have made that decision, so there would have been an open primary, and then whoever won, we go from there. The fact that that didn't happen is negligence and incompetence by the
Mhm,
Democratic Party. And if
mhm,
donors were pushing that, because and I say that because donors control the parties and the system. If they were pushing that, they set the Democratic Party up for failure on purpose. Because again, those donors are the wealthy elite, and for them, it doesn't matter who wins; they're still going to be the wealthy elite. But if Republicans win, now they got even more wealth and more power to control it all. So I don't want to put conspiracy theories out there, but it was clear. I mean, folks was telling me, probably you too, Don, 2022, Biden don't need to run again.
yeah.
And that decision was made not just by him, but I think by others. And that was a horrible decision. Again, not just for him and the party, but for the country. Because look at where we are.
Well, the other thing is because we were told that he was going to be a one-term president,
That's
and
right.
that,
Well, he said he was going to
and
be a transitional president, or yeah,
transitional.
he never said one term,
One
but
time. Okay, so
yeah,
transitional president. So people were thinking that he was going to move on,
right.
and that was the assumption. But also, we all saw that he was different, after a few years. But for him to come out, he came out very strongly saying that he's the only one that could beat Donald Trump, and people just said okay to that. I think that hurt us that hurt us then, but also. Um, this book, when we talk about a book, I'm not sure who the author is of this book. I don't know enough about it, so I really can't speak to it. But I'll say this: um, uh, were we speaking this same thing while he was running or while he was president? So whatever is in this book, was that being said then? Was it as loud as this book is going to be? Because that's the
Yeah.
other thing. We all saw the videos. So many of us were in the room with him, and we saw that there was a difference. There was a decline. But let me say this too: Donald Trump is not the same Donald Trump he was a few years ago.
Thank you.
Donald Trump, there is in my opinion, as a nurse, there is a mental decline happening there. It might not be the same, but he is a different person as well. And that's not a dig at anyone. It is just we change over time.
That's
I've
what
ch-
it
I'm
is.
f- I'm 48. Yeah, I'm 48 years. Say 49. I'm 48.
See, you
I'm
can't even
different.
remember.
I can't even remember. That's
That's
what
right.
happens. See, that's the
Exactly.
point.
I'm like, I do
We
this all the time. I'm like, well, shit. What is
right.
damn?
You
You
know,
know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
exactly. And so that's not a dig. It's just what happens. And so, but were we calling it out and speaking truth then,
Yeah.
before the book,
Yeah.
while it was happening?
Yeah. Well, guys, are you coming back? Are you guys going to run again? Or are you just going to stay and do it on the outside?
So
Oh, ooh, that's a big
thinking,
smile.
not so, we started PACs and all of this stuff. So we're trying to work to get other folks elected,
Yeah, we gonna
right
see. We
now.
gotta see.
Yeah, just, still got to
We'll see
figure
what
out.
happens. It's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
We'll see.
yes. So don't even try it. I know better than
We
that
have
is a
not said
yes.
yes. We have not said yes. It's definitely, though, been a yes to helping to getting some other folks ready.
Look, people always say, well, I don't agree with this politically. No one agrees with everyone 100% politically. But I do think that there is room on the progressive wing of the party. I think that the Democrats allow their critics to define them way too much, right? And I believe
Yes.
that, AOC and Rashida Tlaib and all that, there was an out in the media, they had an outsized influence in conservative media because that's what they wanted to portray. As far as in the party, they weren't policymakers in the party. They
Mhm.
didn't
Mm.
hold the power in the party. And I think Democrats for far too long have allowed their Republican or the conservative media define who they are. I think they'd be better off if they embraced the progressive side of the party.
And so-called moderate Dems, Don. Also,
Yeah.
you should do a story on the Blue Dogs and the New Dems and the Progressive Caucus, because there's a lot there that when I got in, I don't know how much it surprised Cori. I was surprised that the disdain towards progressives was as powerful and real as it was. Like
By
there's really
Democrats.
beef. Like
Yeah.
there's really like they really don't like us. Like a lot of people in the New Dems and the Blue Dogs. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. And so this, yeah, I remember when McAuliffe beat Youngkin. No, Youngkin beat McAuliffe, and the New York Times editorial board the next day wrote that it's progressives' fault. And in 2021, I'm like, what the hell is going? So it's like real beef in the party.
But also the fact that there are, New Dems are on the Progressive Caucus as well. That makes it tough to then really be a Progressive Caucus because you have people who are New Dems, and
Yeah.
so when you want to be full on progressive, it just makes it hard. And so I couldn't join the New Dems, even though people in my district are, there are people in my district who are more moderate, but there are people in my district who are Republicans. I'm not a part of any of the, Republican caucuses, but so I can advocate and I can empathize and all of that. I can do that work, but being a part, it changes things because then you're
Yeah.
voting, you have a voice, and so when we're talking about Medicare for all, or if we're talking about getting the big money, like not accepting a corporate money, then it's a different conversation because we don't believe the same thing. So it
Mhm.
makes it really tough.
Yeah. You guys are the best.
All right,
Keep up the
brother.
great
So are
work.
you.
Man, thank
And
you.
tell us we wanted to get on you have a Substack that you guys do together, and it's called The Capital Offense, right?
Yes, the
The
capital offense.
Capital Offense, Capitol, right?
TOL. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
OFFENSC. So check out their podcast at The Capital Offense. Thank you, Cori Bush,
Thank you,
Jamal
Don.
Bowman. I'll see you. I know y'all gonna run again. Don't have to hide.
See you soon, brother.
See y'all later. Thank you.
All
Be
right,
well,
peace.
okay? Bye
Okay.
bye. Bye. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.